The League of Women Voters Whittier is trying to motivate young people to vote and to become active in politics. We want young people to realize that your vote counts.
So why does every vote count? It counts because we have so many elections where candidates win by just a small margin. Every vote counts. What I did find, though, is that in my community, that during the election, there were blocks and blocks of people who never voted. And it was sad to see that. But I think it has now started to turn around. And people are getting more involved. And they're beginning to see that their vote does count. And they are making more of an effort to get there early or to get there after work. It's very important.
Why does every vote count? Well, you know, I can tell you from personal experience and knowledge that every vote truly counts in a local election as well as in a national election. In local elections, for example, our high school board has over 100,000 eligible voters. Of those, perhaps 50,000 are registered, and 10% of those, 5,000, vote. So those 5,000 people are speaking for 100,000 people. They're each speaking for 20 people. That's your vote's counting when you're out there voting for 20 other people. And when you think about it, if you're able to get a neighbor or two or three in, pretty soon you're voting for 100, 160 people. We've had a presidential election 4 years ago that was the difference between electing one president or another was 800 votes in the state of Florida. You better believe that every vote counts.
As far as the experience and the importance of voting, I wanted to read something to you that I thought was very interesting from the American Legion magazine, and they have an oratorical contest every year, and this is from a young man, Daniel F. Baring from Orinda, California, and he was the first place winner in the American Constitution oratorical contest. So he starts out by saying, John F. Kennedy once declared, "We shall pay any price and bear any burden to assure the survival and success of liberty. But are we willing to pay any price? Are we willing to bear any burden? Are we showing the drive for freedom, the thirst for democracy, and the respect for liberty today when 42% of registered voters stay home on Election Day? When, according to the National Endowment for the Humanities, 75% of college seniors cannot distinguish the words of the U.S. Constitution from those of Karl Marx? When only 1/3 of Americans know what the Bill of Rights is and what it protects? George Bernard Shaw once said, "Liberty means responsibility." If we are to continue to expect to live in the free society we have today, we must be willing to pay our dues because freedom isn't free. That said a lot to me, and as far as staying home on Election Day, your vote is your voice, and the only way you're going to get heard is if you vote.
Why does every vote count? Well, I learned this, that every vote counts many years ago. I worked on an election where this man was running for assembly, the very first election I was ever involved in. And I had gone home that night, and I made everyone promise to call me as soon as they knew either way who won. And I woke up at 6:30 in the morning, and no one had called. I called the Registrar of Voters, and they told me that 90% of the vote was in. We still had 10% to go, but my candidate was up by 33 votes. Now, 33 votes isn't much. Had to wait for the other 10% to come in to find out the final tally, but he did win. But that convinced me that you should always be informed and you should always go vote. Your vote does count. If I hadn't voted, maybe the other person would have won the election. If I hadn't gotten all those people to go vote, maybe the other person would have won that election. I believe that everyone should vote and they should be informed.
This is taken from an article called Time for Civilians, and I think it really explains why we should vote. The most remarkable thing about our remarkable country is this: ordinary citizens control almost every major institution, public and private. No matter how many expert professionals are on the payroll, they do not have the last word. Somewhere above them, above the top of the pyramid of administrators, is a group of civilians. Does this make sense? What it makes is democracy. Does that make sense? Government of the people, by the people, for the people. We, the people, govern ourselves. The professional experts do not govern us. We govern them. They serve us.
Mission Statement, League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization whose purpose is to promote the active and informed participation of citizens in government and to influence public policy through education and advocacy. The League neither supports nor opposes any political party or any candidate. It does, however, take action on selected government issues based on positions developed through study and consensus.